Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a stupid amount of information to get to today, so put on your participation pants and let's get started. 3196 is where we last left you. 32 minutes out to the hour 11. We get this Twitter status to Representative Teach Me Out of Dougie Collins. Today, the transcript of George Papadopolous' interview before the Judiciary Committee will be made available to the American people. To read the full transcript, visit, and it gives us a link right here. And I'm afraid I can't play you this video here. This is for him ordering the release. It's from C-SPAN, and C-SPAN hates me, but here's the link. All 239 pages of it. Now, I'd really love to get to this because I have a feeling this is some great information. If it's anything like George Papadopolous' interview with Dan Bongino, then it's going to be some fantastic information. But here it is, 239 pages of it. Now, considering the sheer volume of Q and the fact that I only have 24 hours in a day, I'm not going to be able to cover this. If Q gives a couple days off, then maybe I will try and break some of this down. But here it is for you. We are going to spend our time talking about something else. 3197, 36 minutes after the hour 11. We're talking about an actor. And ladies and gentlemen, when I woke up this morning, I was really hoping that my 12-hour workday would be filled with research on an actor I don't care about. Got my wish. Here's Jussie Smollett with the Obamas. And here he is with Mad Maxine Waters down below. And on the right, Sheila, Miss Jackson, If You Nasty. We also got some pictures of him campaigning with Kamala Harris. So it's clear to say he's probably not a conservative, right? Now, this was an older post, and Q was talking about this false flag situation and its relation to this anti-lynching bill that Kamala Harris and Cory Booker were working on. Well, that's funny because in 2019, I didn't realize lynching was such a problem. But all of a sudden, Harris and Booker decided to make it job number one, right? Funny. At the same time, we've got this knucklehead actor right here, cruising the streets at 3 a.m. or whatever it was, and he gets beat up by a couple of white supremacists from Nigeria, and it involved a noose. How about that? That's odd timing. I would say kismet, if you will. Well, that was the whole point. And I think Q is also implying that this knucklehead Smollett is likely related to either Kamala Harris or Cory Booker. I do think that he's probably got some sort of connection to Kamala Harris, although I don't have 100% bang up proof on that. So I do want to tell you that that's simply speculation. But Q has alluded to that fact. Q has also alluded to the fact that Rahm Emanuel might get involved, and he did make a statement in regards to this. Now, the update today was that the charges were dropped. Was there any surprise to today's charges being dropped? No, not really. Here we are off the Chicago Tribune. Indefensible. With no good explanation, prosecutors give Jussie Smollett a pass. It began as an alleged hate crime committed against TV actor Jussie Smollett on a downtown Chicago street at 2 a.m. 2 a.m., not 3. I don't want to exaggerate. It then careened into charges that Smollett staged the attack to benefit his career, and now this. After state's attorney Kim Foxx, remember that name, makes errors of judgment that lead her to recuse herself after Chicago detectives expend thousands of man-hours doing meticulous work after police superintendent Eddie Johnson excoriates Smollett publicly for dragging the city's name through the mud, after Fox's prosecutors take the case before a grand jury after the grand jurors indict Smollett on 16 felony counts of disorderly conduct. After all that, Cook County prosecutors shocked Chicagoans and the rest of the country on Tuesday with news that they're dropping all charges against Smollett. Okay, so this is obviously pretty annoying, and I think this is going to lead to something bigger, but I want to point this out right here. This is a quote from Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who says this is a whitewash of justice. Mayor Rahm Emanuel told reporters with Johnson at his side, "Where is the accountability in the system? You cannot have, because of a person's position, one set of rules apply to them and another set of rules apply to everyone else." Boy, kind of like the Obama administration, right, Mr. Emanuel? Okay, well, interesting words, but Q did mention that he was probably going to go ahead and get involved. A little surprising that he made that comment, but after all, he's got to make the right comment out in public. After all, he's a representative for the city of Chicago, right? Q says, read the drop again carefully. Well, we did. Video evidence No, but we have phone evidence from what I understand. Now, there is some video that we've seen of it. I'm not so sure that there's evidence. Could be, but we haven't quite seen it. Now, the payment evidence we do seem to have, and that's what's made this case so asinine, is the fact that we also have these text exchanges, testimony by 2 paid men evidence. Yeah, like I said, if you're looking for white supremacists, Nigeria would be the last place I would look. Just saying. Just a little pro tip for you there. And we know that these guys were a little bit unhappy with how this worked, and they felt punked by this whole situation too. They came out and said that they got paid. Not enough evidence to convict. Well, it seems like we've got more than enough evidence to convict. Remember, a grand jury, 16 counts. Q says the system is rigged. Well, tell us something we don't know. Will the AG need to get involved? Well, we'd love to know, Q. I have a feeling that this is, Q is implying that this is leading to something bigger. We're going to get some more information in the next drop. Let's move on. 3198. 41 minutes after the hour of 11, Q adds on Kim Foxx, who is pulling her strings. Hashtag goodbye Fox. Okay, so this Kim Foxx, Cook County State Attorney, why would she recuse herself after getting all this information in regards to Smollett? Who would be pulling her strings? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't take much sleuthing to take us right back to our favorite deep state knucklehead, George Soros. George Soros spent $408,000 on Kim Foxx, prosecutor in Jussie Smollett case. This is from Breitbart. And she took it, of course, going through a super PAC. Gotta love those super PACs. $408,000 in 2016. So let's go ahead and just get to the details right here. State campaign finance records show that Soros personally contributed a total of $333,000 to Fox's super PAC before the March 15, 2016 primary was over, and an additional $75,000 after she won. Fox defeated Alvarez in the primary and won easily in the fall. As Breitbart News has reported extensively, Soros has been intervening in local races for prosecutor, state's attorney, and district attorney. It's almost like he's anticipating some court cases, often backing left-wing Democrats against other Democrats in doing so. Well, surprise, surprise, surprise. And that is a really old picture of you, George Soros. Just saying. So there's our Kim Foxx. Nice. We're going to get a little more information in the next post, 3199, 49 minutes after the hour of 11. We get this Twitter status here to Jim Hoff from the Gateway Pundit. Chicago Police Union wants federal investigation into Fox's handling of case after she exchanged texts with Smollett's relatives. Crooked Chicago prosecutors dropped the charges against hate hoaxer Jussie Smollett on Tuesday. And here this tweet from Rafer Weigel says, I can tell you that Chicago police are furious over State Attorney Kim Foxx's decision to drop all charges against Jussie Smollett. Okay, well, what happened here? What was going on? Tina Chen, a former aide to Barack and Michelle Obama, and she was not just an aide, she was chief of staff, sent Kim Foxx an email saying, Hi, Kim. I sent an email to your work address, I think, as well. I wanted to give you a call on behalf of Jussie Smollett and family, who I know. Surprise, surprise! They have concerns about the investigation. I am on an 8 a.m. flight to New York City, but please call me before then. I land about 10:15 Chicago time. My cell is redacted. Many thanks. In one text exchange with a Smollett relative, Kim Foxx is reassuring them. She spoke to the superintendent and asked for a favor. I'll keep you posted, Foxx said in text. OMG, this would be a huge victory, the Smollett relative said in response. I make no guarantees, but I'm trying, Foxx replied. Outstanding. So here we have this state attorney, Kim Foxx, who is on record with these messages back and forth with the Smollett family. And you can find that over there on the Chicago Tribune if you'd like, those text messages telling them that everything's going to be okay. Was she calling in some favors from this Tina Chen? And like I said, Tina Chen was an aide to both Barack and Michelle. She was chief of staff to Michelle. And appears that she's also really, really good friends with one Amy Rule, who used to work in City Hall over there in Chicago. Oh yeah, she's also Rahm Emanuel's wife. Yeah, childhood friends to be exact. How about that? Well, Q says it shall be done, and I would assume that they're still looking into this. The most interesting part of this is that the Chicago police don't want to drop this, and I think that's what's encouraging about this. So I have a feeling we are going to be grabbing more than just Smollett. Smollett's story is probably not yet finished. Let's move on to 3200. 50 minutes after the hour of 11, Q adds on here saying 2 for 1, 3 for 1, 4 for 1. These people are stupid. Q. Yeah, I have a feeling this does not stop at Jussie Smollett, right? He's just a knucklehead actor. And of course, this whole situation was drummed up just to basically cause racial divide, right? I mean, how often do people go running around at 2 a.m., trying to lynch people? I've just never seen it. Not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying. But this is going to likely lead to some more stories. I can't imagine otherwise why we would just be talking about Jussie Smollett. But you can see the connections here deep into Chicago politics. I seem to remember a particular president that was wrapped up in Chicago politics. Can't remember his name. Let's move to 3201. 56 minutes after the hour of 11, we get this Twitter status here to one of my favorite reporters. For me to poop on. Brian Helter Stelter, CNN Press, Jeff Zucker. We are not investigators. We are journalists, and our role is to report the facts as we know them, which is exactly what we did. That ain't true! And the link is from the New York Times. After Mueller report, news media leaders defend their work. There have been tipping points and bombshells, walls closing in and turning points. And there have been so many declarations of the beginning of the end that the comedian John Oliver had a recurring satirical "We Got 'Em" segment on his late night HBO show, complete with a jubilant marching band and sequin majorette celebrating President Trump's downfall. And I'd like to stop right there because A, it's the New York Times, and B, look, if you're so hung up on President Trump's downfall that supersedes your desire to watch the country succeed, I would suggest that you are the problem. But in the swirl of reporting and speculation about the 45th president, nothing has held viewers on the edge of their seats quite like the special counsel, Robert S. Mueller III, and his investigation into possible ties between Mr. Trump's 2016 campaign and Russia agents. The storyline had it all: Cold War era intrigue, allegations of shadowy meetings in Moscow, and a cast of recurring characters that included an aide in a $15,000 ostrich skin jacket, Paul Manafort, and another who has a tattoo of Richard Nixon on his back, Roger Stone. Roger Stone, you have a tattoo of Nixon on your back? That's dumb. That's dumb. All right, well, look. Basically what this goes on to say is news is hard. News is hard. It's hard to get it right. We were just so hung up on bringing Trump down that it's hard. It's hard. News is hard. Well, while news is hard for them, it's not so hard for us. How can there be facts if the entire story narrative was fiction? Yeah, this whole Russian collusion was nothing but a made-up story. Hashtag fake news, enemy of the people. Let's move on to 3202. 12 minutes after the hour of 12. We get this link to the Chicago Tribune. Q says worth remembering. Now, this link to the Chicago Tribune takes you to the text that Kim Foxx sent to the family, and I'm on a paywall over there, but fear not, my fine feathered friends, I've got it over here. And we've kind of gone through this already. This was the first one. Hi, Kim. I sent an email to your work address, I think as well. I wanted to give you a call on behalf of Jussie Smollett and family who I know. They have concerns about the investigation. I'm on an 8 a.m. flight to New York City, but please call me before then. I land about 10:15 Chicago time. My cell is... Many thanks. And this is from Kim Foxx to Tina, who was probably looking for some favors. Spoke to the Superintendent Johnson. I convinced him to reach out to FBI to ask that they take over the investigation. Well, that sounds pretty damning, doesn't it? He is reaching out now and will get back to me shortly, to where Tina says, thank you. I think... is going to call you. OMG, this would be a huge victory. I make no guarantees, but I'm trying. I understand. I appreciate the effort. Hey, hope all is well. Wanted to check in with you about what's happening here when you have a moment. Okay, are you available to chat now? Yes. Okay, calling you now. Ring. And here down below we see an email here. Please note the state attorney's Kim Foxx is recused from the investigation involving victim Jussie Smollett. How about that? Well, we knew this all along. Q says worth remembering. Still talking about our boy Biggie Smollett in post 3203, 21 minutes after the hour of 12. Ooh, think mirror. Q says phone records leak. Where did you hear that before? Well, we heard it in Q post 2849. What happens if the phone records of Smollett leak. And that's exactly what Q said. We see that in the next post here, 3204, 28 minutes after the hour of 12. Here's the post, 2849. And Q says, hate hoax by Smollett, false flag designed to pass anti-lynching law gets wall-to-wall fake news coverage. Yeah, if you remember, right before this was the Covington issue with the kids, where the Native American dude, who turned out to be an actor, ended up approaching these kids, and they made a big deal out of it because there was only a limited amount of video that they were releasing, and of course it painted their narrative. Then we got more information, which kind of exposed the whole story, and rather than apologizing, we just saw this go right into effect. They just moved on to their next outrage story, right? And that was Jussie Smollett. And we talked about it earlier in the video, how this came out at the same time, coinciding with this anti-lynching law, which is a real big deal in 2019, from what I hear. Real hate, real violence, fascism carried out by members of Antifa gets zero coverage. Yeah, how come we never see that on any TV, right? And if we pass it around on Twitter, we get banned and blocked. Reconcile. 1 = 1. When will the FBI conclude their investigations into Antifa? And keep in mind, that is part of an ongoing investigation. I don't know the exact date. Should be rather soon, though. I was originally told that it was going to be spring. We'll have to see what happens if the phone records of Smollett leak. And there's what we're talking about right there. What happens if the phone records of Smollett leak? Who did he talk to multiple times prior to turning himself in? Political forces at work? Not sure. Were these calls between, or texts between him and Kamala Harris? Could it have been this Tina Chen? Could it be this Lisa Fox? Not really sure. Could he have put a call into the Obamas themselves? After all, they were aided by this Chen. So we don't really know yet. There's a lot of speculation going on, but I have a feeling that that's going to be a big, big deal. But I think the real important thing is that in 2849, Q told us long ago that the phone records are likely to leak. And we saw this leak right here. I got this from TMZ, actually. But a lot of people leaked these text between Fox and Tina Chen. Well, that's a pretty big deal, right? We obviously see that something's up. Q adds on proof missed, and then we get this right here, and these are the texts that we just looked at. Text, phone leak regarding Smollett, news unlocks. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen here, but we have a lot of interesting connections, don't we? We have Smollett, who obviously, whether he's related or not, has worked with Kamala Harris, and a lot of prominent Democrats. We also see this attorney that recused herself, this Kim Fox, and we've got the phone records showing that they were clearly talking about favors regarding Smollett with this Tina Chen. And I just showed the connection between her and not only the Obamas, but Rahm Emanuel out there in Chicago. So we shall see what happens, but I have a feeling that this is not done because we're spending a lot of time on it. Post 3205, 49 minutes after the hour of 12. We got ourselves a little proofy proof right here. And on the left is that post 2849. It's just in black now. And the highlighted part is what we were just talking about. What happens if the phone records of Smollett leak? Who did he talk to multiple times prior to turning himself in? Political forces at work, enemy of the people. And then we see here post 3203 where Q had said worth remembering and highlights the actual texts themselves. How did QAnon know? Do you still think Q is alarmed? No, clearly they knew beforehand that there was going to be something coming out. Just like the FISA, just like a lot of other things, everything's just coming out in these slow, bacony, cheesy bites, right? So, I think the order of the day is, of course, everyone's outraged about Jussie Smollett supposedly getting off. I have a feeling that we're looking at something more here. Let's move on. Post 3206, 34 minutes after the hour of 1, we get this link right here. Q says past 7 days. They're giving us a sample here. Nothing to see here. And the link takes us to Bing.com. And it looks like if you search QAnon on Bing, then you get tons and tons of conspiracy theory articles. Yeah, I don't see In Pursuit of Truth here. I don't see any of your favorite content creators here. I just see a bunch of hit pieces. Pro-Trump conspiracy. QAnon keeps missing deadlines. So instead of actually getting linked to somebody who knows about QAnon, you get the Daily Beast. Nobody knows how to write over there. So you see what's up. Rachel Chandler, why is QAnon attacking a private figure? The Daily Dot, written by Mike Rothschild, who got owned on Twitter by yours truly just the other day. So you see what's up. The butthurt continues, right? And anybody who's really searching in earnest to find out more about QAnon gets sent here, and they automatically get someone's opinion on it before actually being able to get the facts. Q says nothing to see here. Let's move on to 3207. 3 minutes after the hour of 2, and Anon just basically shares this long screenshot of what we were just looking here, and you can see this is the past 7 days. All this has been written in the past 7 days. So for people who want to clown it like Vice and Reason and The Gothamist and who knows who else, Right Wing Watch, BizPack Review, all these people who think QAnon's just a conspiracy theory seem to be spending a lot of time writing articles about QAnon. How about that? Well, you can see what's up here. Be careful what you ask for a screenshot of. Bing QAnon news search results and Q confirms. Let's move on. Post 3208, 7 minutes after the hour of 2, responding to an Anon who posts this link to Fox News right here. Antifa activist facing assault charges was tied to Democratic policymakers. What a difference a year made for Joseph Alcoff. On Monday, the 37-year-old has a court date in connection with charges he's facing in Philadelphia that include aggravated assault and ethnic intimidation for allegedly being part of an Antifa mob in November that attacked 2 Marines, Alejandro Godinez and Luis Torres, both Hispanic. Alcoff and 2 others charged in the attack have pleaded not guilty. And I want to point out that this was back in February 11th. But while Democratic officials are distancing themselves from Alcoff now, until recently, he was a well-connected, aspiring political player in Washington who may have even had a hand in key policy proposals. You don't say. His endorsement apparently mattered when several congressional Democrats in February 2018 issued press releases with his quote backing their bill on regulating payday lenders. As the payday campaign manager for the liberal group Americans for Financial Reform, Alcoff participated in congressional Democratic press conferences, was a guest on a House Democratic podcast, and met with senior officials at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau from 2016 through 2018. Wait a minute, so are you trying to tell me that Democrats and activism and knuckleheadedry and roughneckery are going together? He was also pictured with now House Financial Services Committee Chairwoman Maxine Waters and ranking Democrat on the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. Both committees oversee financial regulatory policies Alcoff was advocating. Alcoff met with them, CFPB Director Richard Cordray, and other senior CFPB officials on April 2016, again in March 2017, and a third time in May 2017, as first reported by the Washington Free Beacon. Wow, seems like this Alcoff guy is pretty busy. Still got time to go around doing Antifa stuff. As of December, Mr. Alcoff no longer works for AFR. Carter Doherty, spokesman for Americans for Financial Reform, told Fox in an email. Well, this guy seems to have quite the resume. Alcoff was reportedly also an organizer for Smash Racism DC. Nice. The group responsible for gathering and shouting threats outside the home of Fox News host Tucker Carlson in November, and for heckling Senator Ted Cruz, Texas, and his wife Heidi at a Washington restaurant in September. Okay, so I think you see what's going on. This guy, who's, not a racist, he's smashing racism, but he's got time to go to Tucker's house. Got time to go ahead and do a little Antifa activism, right? Well, between our activists and our actors and our politicians and our news reporters and our dirty money sources, we start to realize that it's all connected. They're all the same morons, right? And just like this Smollett case was very similar to this attack on our U.S. Marines, the Anon says, bingo. Think I found the connection Q wanted us to find with the recent Q drops regarding the Antifa investigation. Q proof. The culprit of the Marine assaults last year was one of the masterminds of the harassment of Ted Cruz. I'm not so sure I would use the term masterminds, but nice find, Anon. Connections to high-level Democrats such as Maxine Waters. And Q says, well done, Anon. The anti-American party of hate and crime. Wow, seems like every day we're finding new reasons why the Democrats just don't seem to like you and I. Let's move on to the next post. 3209, 45 minutes after the hour of 3. And speaking of 45, it's a picture of 45 right there. Looks like he's going to be on Hannity tomorrow at 9. So I guess if that's going to be on Wednesday, that's going to be tomorrow morning for me. So I will probably not yet be making videos, but I probably will be getting snarky on Twitter if you want to join me for that interview. Let's go ahead and move on to 3210. we get some texts. And the texts are between McCabe and Page. I want to turn your attention onto these two right here, the one that's redacted and the one above it. An article to share. Trump offers retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn the job of National Security Advisor. A person close to the transition says Trump offers Lieutenant General Michael Flynn the job of NSA Advisor. A person close to the transition said. And then we have this here. I tried sending an email to redacted, but it bounced back. Are you still getting the redacted emails? DAG, being Deputy Attorney General, inquired about our plan regarding that FISA target if he mobilizes, given the physical access he has. Let me know if you got the email I forwarded from Tash. Okay, I would assume that would be Tashina Gohar. So this is interesting stuff here because it shows that they had their eye on Michael Flynn. I figured that was originally the FISA target that we were talking about, but I'm not so sure. Now, the Deputy Attorney General back then would have been Sally Yates, but if they're referring to that he is Sally Yates, that wouldn't make any sense, right? Would that imply that they already knew that Rod Rowe was going to be the next person to take over as Deputy Attorney General? And could they be inquiring about this because they were planning to wear a wire? Remember that whole conversation? So did they know Rod Rowe was going to be the next Deputy Attorney General? Inquired about our plan regarding that FISA target if he mobilized, maybe meaning if he gets the job. Could be referring to Michael Flynn getting the National Security Advisor job too, given the physical access he has. But I think we might be talking about Rod Rowe. You can let me know down below. But it says, let me know if you get the email I forwarded from Tash. Okay, so the link takes you to Fox News. McCabe, Page text reveal high-level intel meeting after 2016 election. Newly obtained text messages between former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe and Bureau lawyer Lisa Page reveal a high-level meeting among senior intelligence officials was held weeks before President Trump's inauguration during a critical period for the Russia probe. In a December 12, 2016 text reviewed by Fox News, Page wrote to McCabe, by the way, DNI James Clapper told Pete that he was meeting with CIA Director John Brennan and Cohen for dinner tonight. And I'm assuming that would be, it says right here, CIA Director David Cohen, just for your situational awareness. Within a minute, McCabe replied, okay. Yeah, and here it says that it's David Cohen. Pete is a likely reference to Peter Strzok, who played a lead role in the original investigation at the FBI and with whom Page was having an affair. It is unclear whether the dinner meeting concerned the investigation and suspicions about Russians' contacts with Trump advisors, including incoming National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. But two government sources told Fox News it was irregular for Clapper, who is the head of the DNI, to be in direct contact with Strzok, who was at a much more junior level. It is not clear from the text if Strzok also attended the dinner. A lawyer for Strzok declined to comment, but did not dispute the text referred to Strzok. Okay, so this is pretty interesting stuff here. I'm not really sure what they're referring to with this he. Like I said, it could mean that they were talking about Lieutenant General Michael Flynn mobilizing into the NSA advisor. But I think what we were talking about here is it seems to show that they may have known at the time that Rod Rowe was going to be our next DAG. Q says right here, quote, DAG inquired about our plan regarding that FISA target if he mobilizes, given the physical access he has. DAG plus number two, and number two was McCabe. Discussion regarding wear a wire. Well, we know that discussion would have been between McCabe and Rod Rowe. Entrapment regarding the 25th Amendment. The more you know. Q. Post 32:11, 13 minutes after the hour of 4, we add on here. This Anon says, whoa, Q, these texts are from 2016, long before Rod Rowe became Deputy Attorney General. And Q looks to clear it up here. If Sally Yates, she, was DAG during this period of time, what does he refer to regarding DAG? Was Rod Rowe planned to assume DAG at that point in time? Bake your noodle.
What's really going to bake your noodle later on is, would you still have broken it if I hadn't said anything?
Let's bake our noodle on Trump Tower. Post 32:12, 26 minutes after the hour 4. Q is responding to an Anon who is commenting on a previous thread being previous bread on 8chan. Admiral Rogers would have had lots of access. Didn't he turn off access to the FBI contractors? Yeah, he shut down the flow of these 702s, this FISA 702 information that was going out to outside contractors. And that was back in April of 2016. Q says, think Rogers Trump Tower meeting right after Skiff set up in Tower. Yeah, right after the election, Admiral Rogers doesn't tell anybody. He goes straight to Trump Tower. What does he tell POTUS? He lets him know that he's the one being spied on and that this has been going on for quite some time, right? Think POTUS campaign leaving Trump Tower, base of operations, the very next day. Yeah, he had this skiff set up, being a sensitive compartmented information facility, and this was set up in Trump Tower. I would assume that Trump was assuming that they were going to go ahead and operate out of Trump Tower. Well, this was coming in a day after this right here, where we see these texts. We see these texts from the 16th of November, actually the 15th, 16th, the 17th, and 18th. So we get this on the 16th, then we get the meeting at Trump Tower on the 17th, and next thing you know, the Trump team moves out and they go to Jersey. And on 18th, we get this article from the Washington Post recommending that Admiral Rogers be fired from the NSA. How about that? Q says 1 + 1 = 2. Q.
It's a trap.
Post 3213, 26 minutes after the hour of 4, we get the movie poster for Farsigert, coming soon to a theater near you. And there's some of our favorite deep state knuckleheads right there. There's Andrew McCabe, Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama, James Nobody's Homie Comey, and Aunt Loretta Lynch. Very nice. Let's move on to 3214, 27 minutes after the hour of 4. An Anon is responding to another Anon on 8chan who is talking about the Trump Tower skiff and how that must have been comped because they had to go ahead and tear everything down and go over to New Jersey. And this Anon is saying Trump Tower was bugged, most likely. Q is confirming. Yeah, and I would argue there was probably parts of the White House too, as well as Air Force One, not just Trump Tower, but they were setting up wires everywhere they could, right? Spying on us! 3215, 30 minutes after the hour of 4. Responding to an Anon who said, I thought this was known by Anons. Q says, knowing what you know now, replay the story. Start late 2015. Well, we can see that this was all part of the plan, right? And all this really was just basically spying on really anybody who was going to oppose their plans. And it just turned out to end up being Donald Trump. But they weren't the only ones being spied on. This was clearly happening to lots of different politicians and really anybody who was opposing Hillary Clinton. This was all about a 16-year plan. Post 3216, 35 minutes after the hour of 4, we get this Twitter link to our friend Incarnated ET over here on Twitter, who says Kim Fox is married to Kelly Fox, who works for World Business Chicago, WBC, where Jim Reynolds of Loop Capital sits on the board of directors. Well. So our girl Kim Fox, who is this attorney that recused herself in the Jussie Smollett case, married to Kelly Fox. Now, Jim Reynolds, board of directors of Loop Capital. Q has talked about Loop Capital quite a few times. Here are some of the previous posts. Back here in 480, it says, do not lose focus on Loop Capital. But I think this one probably will put it into perspective. 524 from back in January 13th. Loop Capital, CEO's board of directors paying to play. Slush fund. Hussein won $29 million out of Singapore. We don't say his name, being Senator McCain. 2, 19 million out of Singapore. Why don't we say his name? Because he no longer gets the honor of that. HRC, Bill Clinton. 3, $15 million from the Banco de Mexico. So I think you see what's going on. Loop Capital has been involved all along. And this is how they slush fund their money. Q has mentioned it quite a few times. How about that? Now we're starting to see this connection with Kelly Fox and Kim Fox. And Q had said, goodbye, Fox. Loop Capital, what are the odds of that? Yeah, what are the odds of that? And in regards to this guy, James Reynolds, back in 2003, he got popped giving some consulting fees, if you will. Yeah, that's the ticket. Consulting fees. He is an investment banker out of, you guessed it, Chicago. And he actually got popped by the FBI. They wiretapped him and everything. So nice, creepy connections there. What are the odds of that, John? I don't know either, bro. I have no idea, but probably slim odds. That's what I'm guessing. Let's move on to 3217. I know, right? 39 minutes after the hour of 4. And Anon takes us back to this November 22nd post, 2016, from Donald Trump. Great meetings will take place today at Trump Tower concerning the formation of the people who will run our government for the next 8 years. The Anon says, was this bait? Q confirms. Yeah, so just days after, Admiral Mike Rogers comes to let not yet POTUS know, Donald Trump, know that he was being spied on and that everything was probably wired for sound. They went ahead and moved their operations out without really telling anybody. And then a couple days later, we get this tweet from Donald Trump announcing this meeting, which probably got the deep state salivating. And they turned on all their cool guy listening equipment, thinking they were going to get some juicy details, right? Meanwhile, they were probably getting rickrolled. I don't know if it went down like that. It'd be so sweet if it did, though, huh? 32:18, 51 minutes after the hour 4. We get this Twitter status right here, and this is to Complex on Twitter. And they broke down everything we need to know about the QAnon conspiracy. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to move this along with my cursor, because trying to play these videos and talk to you is about as enjoyable as gnawing my own arm off. Well, first of all, whenever someone says that we broke down everything you need to know, that's where your ears should perk up. And it's amazing when everyone's talking about QAnon, everyone seems to break down everything you need to know. Only one thing. They leave out all the content creators such as myself who spend hours upon hours upon hours every single day actually doing it. You know, people like you and me. So let's break down everything we need to know. QAnon is the online right-wing conspiracy collective that's quietly radicalizing members of, let me guess, the alt-right. Yeah, the alt-right and beyond and beyond. Nice. Who or what is QAnon? Q or Q Clearance Patriot is an anonymous internet user or group of users claiming to be a high-ranking government official close to Trump who have been posting cryptic intel drops online since 2017. Among the group's beliefs are Hillary Clinton being the leader of a satanic cult. I'm not really sure that we would put it that way. Consumes the blood of children. All right, you just kind of blew that whole story. That's... oh, boy. All right. And the president's son, Barron Trump, is actually a time traveler. Okay, well, that sounds more like an 8chan story. That has no place in QAnon. I've heard that theory before, but that's all on 8chan. QAnon has never said that. So, Complex, you're wrong. That's not everything you need to know about the QAnon conspiracy. QAnon has never mentioned it once. Sounds like you might be lying. Earlier this month, Frank Cali, believed to be the street boss of the Gambino crime family, now we're going to tell you the part where it's dangerous, was shot dead outside his Staten Island home. And we're going to connect that because he had this on his hand. Yeah, I think you see what's up. It's just more hate, more attacks from these knuckleheads who don't know anything about QAnon. Attacks increasing, becoming more and more outlandish to paint as crazy. Hashtag fake news, hashtag facts matter. Well, I can tell you as somebody who creates content, and I'm sure you got stories of your own, that the attacks just get more intense every single day. I have seen more knuckleheads in the last 3 weeks than I've seen almost through this whole period of time. People are in a panic. Let's move to 32:19, 54 minutes after the hour 4. Anon says, does their stupidity ever stop being so amusing? Hasn't for me. Well, it is amusing. Sometimes it's quite annoying, though, too. Q says, badge of honor, Patriot, over the target. And indeed, we are over the target. That's why we're being banned and blocked and unsubscribed and blah, blah, blah. Let's move on to 32:20. 27 minutes after the hour of 9, we get this YouTube link right here. And it takes us to the YouTube page of Project Veritas, who's always doing some great work here. This is from CPAC 2019, and we are looking at Van Down by the River Jones accuses us of editing his Nothing Burger comment. Here is the raw. Okay, well, I don't want to speak for Van Down by the River, so let's check it out.
We had a whole conversation. Why do you guys just take a little clip and a little clip and put it together? If you're honest, show the whole thing, put the whole tape up.
Van, this is James O'Keefe. What was taken out of context?
Hey, you saw the thing yourself. You know what's taken out of context.
Got a flashback aside, yeah, take you back,
This week, I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think that,
There's nothing there you can do. Get a break.
Thanks for clarifying, Van. Appreciate you. Q says sometimes it's good to go back once you've gone forward. Bake your noodle on that, knowingly pushing a narrative that is false, fake. This is CNN, media arm of the Democratic Party. Think for yourself. Well, I think that there's a lot of people that are out there that are starting more and more to think for themselves, and it's leading to some really, really exciting times, ladies and gentlemen, and I think I'm going to leave you on that. However, I am going to tease you with this. I will link this down below in the video description. I'll also put it in the top comment. This just came out, the executive order on coordinating national resilience to electromagnetic pulses.
Oh, God, that...
I know, right? So I will leave that down for you down below to check out and leave you with that. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. If you're new to my channel, welcome to you. Please understand that from time to time, you're going to get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed. Happens to all of us every day. Just do me a favor, keep checking back. Type in IPOT. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to search me if you're having a hard time searching me in your videos, but please understand that that is YouTube or whatever platform messing with you. Please don't check with me for technical support. I'm not that guy. Thanks to all of you who already check and resubscribe yourself. I greatly appreciate it. All my links are down below. I am off Gab. I'm kicked off Gab. I have no idea why. I can't log back in. Won't recognize my email. It's kind of like my account just doesn't exist. I don't know. Maybe you guys are still seeing it, but I'm not able to update it. My BitChute is working from time to time. That's linked down below. Brighteon released a statement saying that they have been having a hard time keeping their platform up, so I'm going to hang on to it, but that is also linked down below. And of course, I'm over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. All those links are down below. This EO will be linked down below. My email's down below. And if you'd like to support my channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay safe.